Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Ivan Oberon's Money Matters. It is Thursday, November 20th already. So I hope that you guys are getting ready, man. It's a week from today, and it's already Thanksgiving. It's been a crazy month for me. I don't know about you guys. Finally, I'm home. I've been traveling quite a bit. I was at the AAPL conference in Vegas last week for 4.5 days, speaking there and exhibiting. Before that, we were at the REI Expo in Anaheim and just finishing the year off strong, making those connections, getting out there and networking, connecting with people, spreading the message of what it is that we do. And for those of you on here who maybe are not familiar with who I am Ivan Oberon, currently the Vice President of Sales for National Real Estate Insurance Group, and I'm also a full-time real estate investor. Primarily, we have fix and flip to investor projects or cash flow rentals, primarily out of Kansas City, Missouri. We have our teams out there, and we're looking to ramp that up, continue to bring more capital investors in, and of course, selling funnels. So it kind of works hand in hand with what I do with the insurance, right? Because I was an insurance guy as of 11 years ago. Then I got into real estate investing, got out of insurance altogether, and I started writing my business through these guys. And over the course of a couple of years, developed a great relationship and decided it made sense for me to represent a company that I already have so much conviction on that I was insuring all my projects with them. So that's what we're doing. That's what I do. Tonight we're going to talk about raising capital for your small business or real estate projects. And I like that because a lot of the things that we do on our webinars, on the insurance stuff, on our radio show, we talk a lot about real estate investing, and that's one of our primary focuses. But we're also really catering to the entrepreneur, right? The small business guy out there. And I connected with one of my new friends, Andrew, this past week, or a few weeks ago, I think, wasn't it, Andrew, on LinkedIn of all places, right? That's part of the power of social media and networking out there is just getting out and connecting with people, seeing what kind of synergies you might have with them, so that you can partner up and see how much value you can add to those around you together, right? Because you might be doing similar things or in the same space, but be doing completely different things. And so you can add more value to both of your client bases and networks and things of that nature. And Andrew is with AM Capital Source. Yeah, they are a small business and creative project capital sourcing company. He started this in Washington State, right, Andrew?
Yes,
And
that is correct, Ivan.
they are connected to over 60 different sources of capital, from hedge funds to private equity groups, direct lenders, hard money, bridge lenders, merchant and cash advance people, private investors, and people all in that space. So there's a lot of different types of money out there, and it never ceases to amaze me the creativity that some of these people have. And if there's a type of project or a type of venture or a type of business out there, there's a lender to connect you with. Just as an example, just real quick, and you can tell me if you've heard of anything like this before, Andrew. But
Mhm.
I was dealing with one of my clients, and has actually been a client for a long time. Was with me in my previous insurance life. Then he heard that I was getting into the insurance business again, and even though I'm just focusing on investors, he's like, "Hey, man, you got to help me out. I love working with you, and this is what I got going on because I know you're in that space." So he had sold his vineyard that I used to insure for him, and he had a bunch of money, and he was going to do what's called a 1031 exchange. And for those of you who aren't familiar with what that is, it's essentially a tax saving vehicle where you can take the gain on a sale of a real asset like that and essentially turn it over into a new asset of kind of similar kind. So he sold a type of property, he was looking at another type of property. And you have to identify three different potential properties to put that money into. And if you do it within the allotted period of time, you can transfer those gains into those properties and save yourself the taxes, so you don't have to take the income tax from the sale of that gain, right? Well, what ended up happening is he had the three properties identified. None of them worked out for whatever reason. And I don't understand how this works, but somehow now those funds got locked up. And so they're locked up in some account in the sky until like January. But he was also buying a brewery restaurant that I'm working with him to also do the commercial business on that, and he needed some extra
Mm.
money. And so he needed about $500,000, and I was connected to another private lender, slash bordering on hard money lender. And I came to him, I told him the situation. I was like, look, there's this guy I know, and I explained to him the whole situation. And instead of property or instead of something else, how about we use hard cash as collateral? So we know that this money, is roughly upwards of $1 million, is tied up in this account because of this 1031 exchange and the way it happened, and it's going to come available in January. So how about we use that as a collateral for the loan that you can give him, so that he can basically capitalize this business venture with the brewery restaurant that he's getting into. And after we talked about it for a little while, he decided, you know what, yeah, we're going to be creative enough and we're going to do that. Now that we know that we have this other thing, and I had never heard of it, I just threw it out there, and it worked out. So what do you think about that, Andrew? How's that for
Oh,
creative lending?
yeah, that sounds very good. Yeah, and as you know, there's a lot of different ways you can skin a cat in this business. There's all, types of creative financing techniques. But
Well,
yes, that's a good one. I haven't heard,
well,
something
I hadn't
that
heard about it
specific,
either.
but
It's
yeah,
my dad always told me, if you don't ask, you don't get. So I figured
right.
I'd throw it out there. And what I want to do, Andrew, is let's get a little bit of background on you. Let's A lot of people on here know who I am. A lot of these guys, God bless them, they tune into me every week, and I guess I haven't bored them quite yet. So let's get into a little bit about you and what it is that you do, how you got in, your background in business, and how you basically came into to work with Capital Source. I mean, it's AM Capital Source is your company, right?
Right, that is correct. Yeah, and first of all, I just want to thank you for having me on your show here, or your program here tonight.
Of course.
It's an honor to be here. Yeah, a little bit about my background, as you can see there on the screen. My name is Andrew Ikeda, and I'm the founder and CEO of AM Capital Source. We are a boutique capital advisory firm in Washington State. I'm sorry, I'm not a direct lender. I do not write checks or hand out money to people. However,
Man,
as you can see there, yeah, I know.
what if we're real good friends, Andrew?
Well, if we're real good friends, well, yeah, maybe. I'll talk about that here in just a minute. But
Yeah, the
anyway,
buddy
for the
loan
time
program.
being, well, yeah, well, I'll get to that here in
All
in
right.
just a second here. But yeah, basically, how I got started was I was actually teaching English as a second language in South Korea,
Mm,
and I was in 2012. I had gone there in 1997, so I spent the better part of about 12 years over there. And I just, I've always wanted to be. I got the real estate investing bug around 2001,
okay.
2002. So I linked up with a lease option expert in Florida and took his course, and
Hmm.
paid him what it was at $2,500 or something for his course and mentoring and all that. And I don't know. I tried it, but with the lease options, I didn't quite have success with it because the market here, basically, there were, very few homes below market,
Okay.
or properties and owners, and desperate sellers, and motivated sellers. So that didn't quite work out for me. I went back to Korea and came back in 2012. But before that, I had I wanted to get back into real estate, and I was thinking to myself, how can I get back in the game, and what do I need to do?
Hmm.
At the time, since I was overseas, I didn't spend any money. I was able to save it, and I built up my credit scores. I had a 799, 801, and an 805 FICO score.
Nice.
Those were my three scores. Yeah. So I got in contact. I went on the internet and found out about the unsecured business credit lines,
Yeah.
which is basically credit cards issued to a business. So they said you had to have like 2 years of your business had to be in existence for 24 months, registered with the state. In my case, the state of Washington had to
Hmm.
be some type of entity. So I had an LLC, and then the credit scores, anything above 730, and that was basically about it. So I was able to raise around $76,000 in credit lines,
Okay. And
and
this was just with you first starting out in the business. You said, "Hey, I'm gonna go do this and see what kind of credit lines I can get because I have good credit."
right, right. Well, I was I was thinking about how can I get into the real estate game as an investor,
Hmm.
and I think what a lot of people, what I'm learning is that, the information that they sell in these webinars, I mean, these techniques only sell webinars,
Sure.
or these seminar course and these courses, like, Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad, or the Rich Dad courses, and Donald Trump with his courses and stuff. The information that they teach there, it sounds really good. It sounds like it's something that's very doable. But when you go out there on the streets and you do the stuff for real, it's
Hmm.
a whole nother ball game. It doesn't work like that. Finding the motivated seller. They say, you got to go look at 100 properties to find one motivated seller, but who wants to spend all that kind of time and money just for that? Because that could take for a while, right?
Yeah.
So basically, what I got, the whole general gist is like, for me, is like, it's you got to have skin in the game. It doesn't matter to me. You just got to have you got to have some money to invest. Especially if you're going to go for hard money, or even a standard loan, with a direct lender or even a bank. Nobody I know of is doing 100% LTV. At least not, at low interest rates.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So that was kind of my thing. So I figured, well, and I was with a partner, the guy who helped me raise the credit. The credit consultant, he was in
Mhm.
Chicago, and I went there and worked with him directly for 2 months. And we were planning on pooling our funds and buying fix and flips in the Chicago area. But he basically told me, he said, well, uh, we see these properties come on the market and they're $20,000, and
Mhm.
they need about $20,000 worth of work to fix them up, and then we can sell them for 60,000 and make it 20 on the end, on the
The
back end.
spread. Okay.
So we're thinking, well, that's, it's not a whole lot, it's not, split it two, three, four ways
Yeah,
between
especially after
the four of us, or
expenses,
three,
closing
four of us.
costs. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And then he said, well, there might be 5 to 10 grand for each of us. But he said the problem is, though, is that when these properties are revealed to the public, all these other investors bid them up. So now you can't get these properties at 20,000 anymore. You're paying 30, 40, and then all of a sudden your profit margin is gone. Unless you're, working by yourself, there's no profit in these deals.
Sure.
So I was kind of discouraged and ended up back here in Washington State where my family is. Um, but at that time, I still didn't want to give up. So my idea was, well, I can't really get into the real estate game directly, but maybe I can work on financing.
Hmm.
Since I had a lot of success with raising capital, or at least to that point, I
Yeah.
thought, well, why not help other investors you know, find money and help them raise capital, and
Sure.
maybe we could find a partnership or something and do something then. So that's basically how I got rolled into it. So
Hmm.
started off doing the business credit lines, and had lots of inquiries, but the people, a lot of people just didn't quite match, or have the credit scores, the FICO scores required by the banks.
Okay.
So then people started asking me about hard money. So I'm like, okay. So I started doing some research, and um, I'm really big into marketing and connecting and networking. So I got on LinkedIn and Googled everybody, hard money, and
Hmm.
started looking around, and started wheeling and dealing and connecting with people and stuff. So I kind of built a hard money uh, kind of went
Yeah.
into that direction, and then that seemed really expensive. People didn't want to pay the 15% interest
Hmm.
that these guys were asking for, and they didn't, they wanted closer to like 90, 100%, LTV or LTC. So then what happened was, I had people start asking me about commercial financing. So anyway, long
Hmm.
story short, I went into commercial financing, and then I got into small business financing after that. And so now I'm just kind of like in the process. I bought some databases. I've reached out and contacted these hedge funds and some of these private equity groups and direct lenders, and I spend lots of time on the phone. I also do my own due diligence on these guys. I make sure that they have a website, that they have a bio. Because I know like scammers and people that are
Sure.
not real, they'll use a Gmail or Yahoo address. So anybody that comes to me and says, hey, I've got funds for you, and they have a Gmail address, I don't bother to reply because I know that they're just another broker. The serious lenders will have a website. It will be professional looking. They'll have bios on all the principals and all the people involved in the business there. And when you think about it, it makes it really hard to be a scammer if you're exposed, if your name and your bio and
Sure.
everything about you, your email address, your phone number is all on the net, on the website. It's really, really hard to disappear. So
Yeah, I think
that
that's
is
the thing
kind of the
that's
process.
interesting because we have s- kind of some parallels in because in the beginning went out to raise money, and
Mhm,
when I first started in real estate investing, that's what I wanted to do too. I went that similar route where they teach you to go and leverage funds and call all these hard money lenders, and so I did all that, and
mhm.
I really wanted to raise private capital, so that's what I focused on, and I started raising private capital and started creating my money partners essentially to do my deals. And till this day, I've done almost all my deals with cash. But speaking to that, I got to connect you with, and this is why it's cool for me to do these things sometimes too, and bringing guests on my webinars because I got to connect you with Matt Benson, the executive director of the American Association of Private Lenders, because I think you would do great getting access to all the. I mean, there's almost 400 members in that organization who are almost exclusively private lenders of all sorts that I think would probably be a great resource for you too. So
Oh
I'll
yes, actually,
be
yeah,
sure to do that.
yeah. Okay, yeah, I have heard of the what was it, AAPL?
Right.
The, yeah, yeah. I do work with a couple sources. You've probably heard of Fairway America
Mm-hmm.
out of Portland. Yeah, I've been
Yep.
to their office and visited with them uh, and talked to them. But yeah, I do need. They're on my radar, but I haven't had time to really, vet them out
All
or
right.
contact people. And
Well,
but I
I,
do
I
know
will
who they are. And
I'll put you in
yes,
touch with the
definitely.
executive director. So that'll
Okay.
just cut through all the red tape and you can get directly to the source. So that's awesome,
Okay.
man. So thank you for the background. Now let's just get into some basic
Okay.
questions so people
Sure.
kind of know what it is that you do and what you can offer. And then we'll open it up to some direct questions from the people listening. And if they're brave, we'll unmute them. And if not, you can just type their questions in. But as far as we talked about what it is that you already do, explain the difference between what if somebody is looking to not necessarily get funding for their small business, but can you also do stuff for their real estate projects if they want to get into that, or how can you combine the two?
Oh, yes. Yes. Good question. And yes, I can basically do both. My primary emphasis is on real estate. Uh, However, I also do work with lenders that will finance small, businesses. Since we're pretty much on the real estate side, let's stick with that.
Okay.
Basically, I do work with residential investment properties and investors there, as you can see on the screen. Um, that honestly, at this point in time, I'm still kind of building on that. I've been pretty much focused on the commercial side of things, but in the process, I do have investors contact me and ask me, do you have any sources for residential properties or investments? And I actually do. So I
Hmm.
have reached out to them, and a few of the lenders, direct lenders, have reached out to me as well. So I have some sources that I can work with.
Okay. What about if you're talking about those sources for real estate projects, and specifically, do people need to have a specific kind of credit score in order to do that, or are they really truly asset-based lenders?
It's a mixture of both, and I have to kind of dig in through the files that I have on them and some of the flyers, the program flyers. I do know that there are some lenders that do not have any type of FICO or credit score requirements.
Hmm.
I was told that they will pull a credit report regardless, though, not so much to look at the scores, but just to double check to make sure that there's no bankruptcies or
Okay.
unpaid alimony or child support, as you can see there on the screen. That's all they want to know is, are you, obviously a bankruptcy or something like that might be an
Sure.
issue.
Well, and some that would be important to me is if they run these reports or when they run these reports, is it a soft pull or is it a hard pull? Because
Oh, yeah, good question. That would be a hard pull.
okay.
That's going to be a hard pull. That's going to take some points off their FICO score. So I don't. Okay, that's a very good question. In fact, now that we're on the topic, there is a website,
Hmm.
and I'd like to share it with everybody. If you
Sure.
want to grab a pen and a piece of paper, I can tell you about this.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's called creditchecktotal.com, all one word.
Okay.
And when you go to that site, you can sign up for it's $1 for the first 7 days. And then
Hmm.
after that it's something like $39.95 a month or something like that to do that. But you can pull a full tri-merge credit report with your scores for that $1.
Hmm. Yeah, so that would be my follow-up question is, okay, so what if I do that? Now, that's going to be a soft pull. So can I take
Right.
that to these lenders and say, look, this is my current thing. It's current within 30 days. What can you do with this?
Right, exactly. And yes, the answer to that one is yes. There are several lenders that I know of that you will use and honor their credit report. There are some that will probably do another hard pull anyway, just to see if they come up with something different from a different what do you call it, credit report source
Okay.
provider. They'll probably do that, but I would recommend pulling a credit report anyway off of Credit Check Total and keep that, download it. It comes in a PDF file, so it's really easy, and just basically get it yourself for
Hmm.
yourself. And that way, most investors, I've only, in the two and a half years that I've been doing this, I've only met one investor that knew all three FICO scores.
Hmm.
Excuse me, FICO scores when I talked to him on the phone, when he called and asked about some of the programs and stuff. Everybody else says, "Oh, I think it's good," or it should be excellent. When was the last time you pulled your report? Oh, about a year ago. It's like, well, a lot of things can happen between now and then. So,
Absolutely.
and maybe it is true. I mean, I'm not one to argue, but it's always a good thing to pull it for yourself, and it is a soft pull, so you don't get your points knocked out.
Yeah.
When I went with the business credit lines, they actually asked me for my user ID and password, and I let them just go on there and pull as many reports
Hmm.
as many times as they wanted,
Sure.
and that's what they actually had the banks do too. So that way, my credit never went down,
Yeah. Well, and
at
here,
least during the
here's
time that I was applying.
here's one thing I'm going to say to you guys because you know most of you want to get into real estate. Most of you want to run your own businesses, and really anything that you do should be run as a business. And credit is one of the things that I have always been quote unquote passionate about. Okay, when I was 17 years old, I knew that there was going to be something special about credit, so I started building it right away. As soon as I turned 18, I went down to my local bank. I think it was a Washington Mutual at the time, and got a secured Visa card, which is kind of a crazy setup, right? You give them your own money, and then you pay them to let you borrow against your own money. But after 18 months, of faithful payments, they release that, they turn it into an unsecured line of credit with an increased limit, and then you start building your credit. So that's what I did, and I didn't really know what I was going to use it for or what use it was going to be. I just knew there was something important about it, and then pretty soon I was basically being offered to buy two of whatever I wanted after a few years and seeing how my credit was. So that's something that I worked hard to kind of bring to our members over the last couple of years, because I don't see the gurus teaching that kind of stuff. I don't see them talking about credit. All I see them saying is don't worry about credit. So what if you get these hard pulls? So what if, you know what I mean, if it means you're going to make a couple thousand, bucks or 20,000 bucks on this flip. And I don't agree with that. I think that there needs to be a systematic approach to the way that you manage your credit, build your credit profile, sustain your scores. And that's why I brought my buddy, well, who became my buddy, Merrill Chandler with Credit Sense, who is the leading credit optimization expert in the industry. Not credit repair, but credit optimization. The whole, get you over 800 in 8 steps type program that he's got. So I encourage you guys to kind of take heed, and obviously you knew the value of that too, Andrew, because I mean you don't get to 799 or a little bit over 800 by chance. Okay,
Right.
there's a systematic algorithm that you have to abide by in order for you to get to above those 800 scores. Otherwise, even if you do everything perfect, I mean you'd be stuck in the 720, 740 range for a long time unless you do something specific. So
Right.
I'm glad you brought that up, and it's important, guys. And if you don't have great credit right now, but you want to do something like get lines of credit for yourselves, you can use credit partners. There are ways to do that kind of stuff too. And if there's interest in that, we can connect with some people and do a webinar on that as well, so you guys can know what that's all about. So, all right.
Right.
So moving on, what are the rates and terms? And without you saying it depends, right? Because we say it depends, you say it depends, attorneys say it depends, but I guess there's just a range, right?
Right.
So what's going to be that range typically as far as your experience goes?
The range, I've got lenders that have rates down in the threes, in the high threes and low fours, all the way up to, 15, 16%.
Okay.
But the thing is, the range is based on the type of loan product and the program.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, the threes and fours are going to be more towards FHA conventional type lenders. Your banks and maybe direct lenders that have programs for buyers with good credit and maybe some skin in the game, so to speak.
Yeah.
Talking about 70, 75, 80% LTV.
So would that be for somebody who, as a real estate investor, maybe wants to get financing for a rental property somewhere? Or
Yes, right. That's basically you're right for the rental properties. And well, actually, that's kind of more like for the on the commercial side. On the on the rental, like the single family renters, I'm pretty sure that's what we're looking at here.
mm-hmm.
Let me see here. Let me pull up my folder here.
Yeah, because I think that's
I just
something that people would have some interest in. I'm always looking for people who can help me leverage, and I work with several lenders that'll do portfolio type loans. But you
Mhm.
got to have some properties already. So I'm always looking for
Right.
guys like, okay, what if I don't have a property yet? And what can we do if I have a 10% down payment or something, and I want to buy, this $60,000-$70,000 cash flowing rental? Is there any kind of lending out there for those type of people?
Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah, there is one lender here. I'm just into the folder right here. Let me see what I can tell you on this. Okay, so this particular presentation is dated August 2014. Um, it says here, I'll read a little bit here. It says here that they are backed by a premier global investment and advisory firm, Blackstone.
Mm-hmm.
See here,
I think
they
most of us are
offer,
familiar.
right, they offer permanent fixed and floating rate debt on portfolios of residential rental properties, which consist of single family homes, condos, townhouses, 2 to 4 unit multifamily apartment buildings, and mixed use with up to 40% commercial. We lend on portfolio sizes of 500,000 to 50 million. We have recourse and non-recourse programs available with loan terms of 5 and 10 years and typically allow for 30-year amortizations.
Okay.
The LTV is up to 75%, excuse me, as long as the loan size meets a minimum debt service coverage ratio, the DSCR, of, let's see here, 1.20 and a debt yield of 8%.
Okay. So without getting too into the weeds there and having people fall asleep on us, if that's of any interest to you guys, we'll obviously give you Andrew's contact information later on, and I'll be working to get him even better connected with other lenders across the country after this webinar, and will be a good source for you guys. So moving on to
Right.
the next
Okay.
question is that, well, we
Sure.
already kind of covered this. So you're saying here that most of your lenders that are kind of somewhat FICO driven, we're getting down into the 620s now is pretty much acceptable to most of these lenders or above.
Right. Correct. Correct.
Okay, so I think everybody kind of gets that. We don't need to beat that to death.
Right.
Um,
Sure.
and
And just a quick comment on that one. Yeah, it's the thing is I'm connected with about 6 or 7 different residential investment property lenders.
mhm.
You know, basically portfolio or whether it's a first time investment, a purchase or refi, blanket loans, buy to rent, all these, the gap funding and so on. There's different lenders, and of course they all have different FICO scores and requirements, and some are not. They'll make some exceptions if there's more cash for a down payment or whatever, more skin in the game, so to speak. So it
Mhm.
just kind of depends, but the best thing to do is maybe just present the scenario to me by email or something. Let me know what you want and need, and I can see if I can find a match for it.
Okay, that sounds fair. So what about the question, what's how much you can fund? I think there's often a question of what's the maximum, right? Depending on where people are in their investing career, and then
Right.
what's the minimum? And one of the reasons, I mean, the whole cash thing for me, uh, I was doing that here in California, and when it required $360,000 just to do one deal. And now that most of my properties that I do, I'm all in under 40 grand. Of course, that makes more sense, right? Because I could take that same amount of money and do 8 projects, whereas I was only able
Hmm.
to do one before. So, but what
Right.
what about something that wants to play in that space though? There's gotta be a minimum that makes sense. And to me, it just doesn't make sense to leverage or borrow hard money type loans for those lower end projects. So, what makes sense, and what's the floor and what's the ceiling for the loans that you're seeing?
For the loans and the sources that I have, basically 50,000 is the lowest, the
Okay.
minimum loan amount, and it goes up to. I have a couple small balance lenders. One will go up to 500,000, the other one goes up to 2 million,
Hmm.
and then there are some lenders that go from 50,000 all the way up to, you know, uh, say 10 million or so.
Okay.
And this is just, just rough ballpark.
Now, what about if I want to buy a package, small package of say 4 properties? Will they lend on the package as a whole, or are they going to be breaking them up into 4 individual loans? Because what if there's 4 properties in there and I'm buying each of them for $18,000? Well, obviously, if they only do it one at a time, it's not going to fit their minimum guidelines. But will they package it together to get over that 50 grand minimum, or no?
Right. I understand the question. Yes. So, yeah, I do have 2 lenders that would do basically blanket loan lending.
Hmm.
Let me see what they can. I know that they're Their minimum is 5 properties.
Okay.
So either you have it, or if you're going to buy, let's say you're going to buy 5 properties from one investor, then they'll do that. It has to be at least a minimum of 5 units, and the loan amount minimum is 500,000. They will do 75% LTV. Uh, let's see here. I'm waiting. I actually emailed them a couple days ago, and I'm waiting for an update. But their rates earlier this summer were in the high fives, low sixes,
Okay.
and
Now
they
is that is
finance
that is that an
nationwide.
APR or is that
Yes,
points?
no, that's APR.
Hmm. Well, that's pretty darn good.
Yeah, yeah, it is good. Let me see here. I'm just trying to find here.
And are they a full doc lender or are they an asset-based lender? See, that's the other question because that makes a big difference.
uh, it kind of looks like a hybrid. Kind of like a hybrid. They have their own. This is actually a hedge fund.
Okay.
So let me see here. Um,
So at least they got the money.
I'm just trying to. Yeah, yeah. They're very experienced. These guys have been in the business for 30 years,
Hmm.
so they know what they're doing. Let me see if I can. Hold on, just a second. I just found the source. Let me see here. Rental property portfolio loan. So yeah, the loan amounts are from 500,000 to 40 million. 5 properties and no max. Single family, multi-unit condos, townhomes. 5 and 10 year programs. Amortization up to 30 years. Rates as low as 5 to 6%. They do have a non-recourse available.
Hmm.
Debt service is 1.25 minimum. Loan to value, loan to cost up to 75%. Refinance or purchase. Credit. Oh yeah, see now these guys, minimum 680 FICO for whoever owns 51% or more of the purchasing entity.
Okay.
So basically, if you have a LLC or something and you're going to put it into your LLC by these properties, then whoever is the majority owner of the entity has to have a 680 minimum FICO.
Okay. Well, at a 5% interest rate, it's pretty darn good. So it may
Right.
be worth it for you to get a credit partner if you don't have that. And it sounds like what if it takes me, 15 properties to get to that $500,000 minimum? I suppose they don't have a problem with that, right? It's just
Right.
however many.
It says 5 properties and no maximum. So yes.
Okay. All right. So let's see. We got a question here, and I feel like I'm asking these. I mean, obviously, I'm asking these questions for myself, right? But I hope that
Sure.
my insights and my questions are helping you guys kind of get through here. Let's see. Got a comment or question here. I know of four fourplexes available now at 345,000, the asking price. I don't know
Mhm.
enough yet to take it on. Can we help? Well, that may be a possibility. That's not really the space that I'm in right now. But what about you, Andrew? How,
Okay.
how about that? And obviously we can connect people with people, and it all depends. Let's talk offline, I guess, Mary, uh, because it's at least within our networks we can go after it,
Sure.
do something. There's a lot of questions that I would ask as far as, you saw it somewhere. Do you have it under contract? What are you doing with it? Because if it's just some property that's out there that you saw, it may or may not even be a deal. So there's a lot to
Hmm.
to talk about. Um,
Right. Okay. But these were fourplexes.
yes.
Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. I think this hedge fund would take it. I mean, it's obviously 16 units,
Right. Right.
right? But they think, well, oh, I see. Yeah, the asking price, if they're only asking
Yeah, but it's, but it's only
340 for
345,
all,
so it's not gonna. So it wouldn't
yeah,
it wouldn't land under this particular loan program, but
right,
I suppose there's other people that would lend on it, and the whole four properties thing that wouldn't match under this particular. Well, maybe it would because there's 16 units technically.
right.
Um, so maybe I guess the question would be, oh, 345 each. Okay, so each fourplex is they're asking 345 for.
Oh,
So
I see. So she's looking at about 1.3 million or something like that, if my math is
yeah,
right
yeah,
here
like
on those.
a million 380. Yeah, you're quick, man.
Million 380. Yeah. Oh yeah, that would be doable. That would be good for the for this hedge fund. I know they'd like to see that one.
Okay. So then here's the follow-up question to that.
Hmm.
Um, what about renovation funds? So say Mary buys these for 345 a piece, and each one of them needs 100 grand. What about that extra 400,000? Do they lend on the?
Oh, that's a good question here.
Because I know some
Um,
lenders lend on, up to 80, 90% of rehab sometimes.
right. The that hedge fund flyer did say loan to cost, loan to value. So, the LTC, the loan to cost, she could maybe fit in, that the rehab costs and include it in there
Okay.
in the package in the sales price,
Yeah.
or
So,
maybe she could get, yeah,
yeah. So what that means is that it
mhm,
depends on how good a deal those are, Mary. Because if you're, if that 345 and plus the 100,000 in repairs, so now you're at 445. That 445 is going to be at least 70% to value. Then they may fund the whole thing. So it just depends again. What does that
right,
deal look like? How good a deal is it? We don't know. Are they off market? Are they on the MLS? Are they getting bid up? Who's actually putting the value on those things? And personally, I don't do multifamily as far as duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes. I'm definitely interested in apartments, but I've done nothing but single families, and I wouldn't be comfortable. I don't know that you can comp a fourplex as accurately as you can comp a single family home.
hmm,
I don't know what your take is on that, Andrew, but um, so as far as me taking those on or me advising you, Mary, I would definitely connect you with the right person that does uh, multifamily residential like that for some advice. But I personally wouldn't be excited for the deal because it's just outside of my business model.
oh, yeah, I understand what you're saying. The fourplex may not be too bad. There's different ways to value a fourplex. They can do either what is it, the income approach, which would
Sure.
probably be the best way to appraise it, as opposed to say the replacement cost, building it brand new and stuff.
Right.
But there are lenders out there that will finance a fourplex actually does fall uh, into under a residential.
Sure.
So
Sure.
yeah, so
And that would be the other question is are they tenanted now? Are they cash
mhm,
flowing? And because there's one thing you see when people try to sell some of these types of properties, and obviously any rental, whether it's single family or duplex, triplex, fourplex apartments, you got to look at the actual cap rate. And I
mhm,
always base my value even on the single families based on a cap rate. So if they are actually tenanted, then you can get an actual cap rate. But what you see a lot of these guys doing is they're half full or they're completely vacant and they're trying to throw a price based off of this estimated or you know illusion of a cap rate because it's not really what's happening now. It could rent for this much, it could rent for that much, and that's just not those are just not hard numbers. So there would be some negotiating that would need to be done in the event that these things are not occupied or only 50% occupied, and that's one way that we look. Some of the people that I know that do apartments, that's how they value their things. They're just like, well, it's 50% occupied now. You're based your price on 100% occupancy, and I'm not going to have it. So we're going to negotiate on this
mhm.
price because I'm going to need to do the work to get these things up to par and get them tenanted and everything else. So anyway,
Right.
I guess without getting
Hmm.
too much into the weeds there, but good question, Mary, and let's all of us kind of connect and see if there's anything that we can do there for you. And the
Okay.
first thing that you would need to do, obviously, is evaluate those deals and then try to get them under contract yourself. Because once you get it under contract, even if you don't feel comfortable taking them down, you could source them out to somebody else who does. So,
Right.
all
Hmm.
right. So the next question, of course, is how fast can you do it? How fast can these loans close?
Okay, yes, exactly. And that's one of the struggles that I have with being on the intermediary side. So a lot of the lenders, they ask me to collect the documents. So people say, well, can I get the money by next week? Well, it depends on how prepared the borrower is. Uh, Obviously, they're going to like residential, just like buying an owner-occupied, personal residence. A lot of these, hard money lenders or direct lenders, as the case might be, they're going to want to see the same type of documents. So they're going to want to see a credit report, the purchase and sales agreement. um, I know there's the appraisal thing is very shaky, and a lot of people kind of hem and haw with that one. If you have an appraisal, that often works, even if it's an older one.
Hmm.
But even if you don't, maybe a broker price opinion, a BPO or a CMO, the comps
Hmm.
would work at least so they have some type of idea what to look for, because all the underwriters with these residential investment property lenders, hard money lenders, they're all going to do their due diligence and their underwriting,
Sure.
and they're going to nitpick all the properties and take everything apart and look at the financials on both the property and as well as the buyer principals. So like I said, the best thing I always tell people is have your documents together. Start putting it together now. Create a folder on your computer, put a copy of your credit report in there. You could do some purchase and sales agreements. Maybe you could somehow get a copy online and just leave a blank one in there so you can just plug in all the information real fast when you do find the property. Tax returns and tax statements, any type of appraisal, anything like that, any kind of information documents that can support yourself and the property, and make this a deal where the lender will say, yeah, I want to fund this. That's just more power to you. So
Okay,
my suggestion, of
I
course,
gotta
is to
ask
be
a question,
prepared. Sure.
Andrew. I'm sorry, I have to cut you off because the inner investor alarm is going off, and so
Okay.
that leads me to my question: how many of the lenders that you have access to are true asset-based lenders? Because what if I don't want to go through all that? What if I don't want to have all my ducks in a row and get a credit partner, and I understand that there's some significant benefits of being able to get a 4% loan on something versus a 12% loan with 3 points. So, but what if I'm just not set up that way, but I have a really good deal and I
Right.
need a
Okay.
true asset-based lender because I have a really good deal that they can lend on and have that collateral.
Hmm.
So
Okay. Yeah.
that's I'm
Good.
gonna put you on the spot on with that one because that's where my mind goes.
Right. No, and that's a totally awesome and good question. Let me take a look here.
And for I mean I suppose I'm gonna just assume that everybody on this call understands what the difference is between a true asset-based lender and more of your conventional type quote unquote hard money lenders, right? If
Hmm.
any of you don't understand that, just raise your hand and we'll kind of explain it a little bit. We're just going to go by the assumption that you understand the difference. Okay, Isaac.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, to
Yeah.
be honest with you, I don't see anything right now as far
Okay.
as like pure asset base. I would have to go through my folders here and take a closer look.
Okay.
I do know that I have seen a couple, three pop up here over the past, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months, but
Okay.
I'm always on the hunt for capital. So a lot of
Sure.
these, almost every day I come across sources and I can't remember exactly who had what. So
Got it.
I'm gonna have to dig on that. But to be on the side of safety and honesty and integrity, I would say at this moment none.
Okay.
I'm just going to be straightforward
All
with
right.
it.
No, I appreciate that, obviously, and maybe there's some homework for you on that. And,
Right.
and Isaac
Oh,
did raise his
definitely.
hand. So Isaac, I'm just gonna make it very very simple, so that we don't get into too long of an explanation. But an asset-based lender, a true asset-based lender, because most hard money lenders call themselves asset-based lenders, and that basically means that they're looking at the deal that you have. Okay, that is your asset. That is a thing that gives you control. This is what I want. This is the leverage tool that I have, and look at these numbers. Now, the better the deal is, so the better you bought that property, the more leverage you have because you have a more valuable asset. And then the lender, if it's a true asset based lender, is going to look primarily at the merits of that deal or that asset. What area is it in? How much are you buying it for? What kind of rehab does it need? How quickly do properties sell in that area? Because if you're buying it right, it has enough spread or what would be considered safety in the deal, and it's in an area where properties don't sit around for very long. Well, now you got a very valuable asset, and those lenders are going to feel more comfortable giving you whatever amount of money it is that they agree to give you, whether it's 70%, 80%, 90%. I've dealt with some lenders that will actually, if the deal is good enough, and I've brought them deals like that, if the deal is good enough, they will shift their conventional lending programs into a true JV program where they'll lend 100% of the acquisitions and the rehab because the deal is so good and they feel so comfortable and there's enough money and safety for everybody involved, for them as the originator, for the investor who's bringing the capital, and for you as the developer, for everybody to make money. So that is what a true asset-based lender looks like. The better the deal, the less they look at the merits of the actual borrower, being you, or your credit worthiness, or how long ago you started your LLC, or how much money's gone through that account. There's less scrutiny that goes on. So that's that's the benefit of working with a true asset-based lender. It's kind of the next step down from working with cash, right? And then you get to more your
Mhm.
conventional hard money lenders who are going to ask more questions, who are going to want to see your track record. They're not going to lend to the first, the first deal newbie. Um, but anyway, so hopefully I answered that question enough. If not, hit me up afterwards and we can talk a little bit more about it. I don't know what else I'll say, but we can still talk. All right.
Okay, yeah, and it sounds good.
All right. So the next question is, well, we already actually went over this. Man, we're getting
Yeah,
ahead of
we did.
ourselves. So they
And
go,
actually, excuse me, there is one small, I was just looking at one of my small balance lenders, and they will do 25,000
oh,
up to 500,000.
well, there you go.
Yeah, that was that one. It's they're on the East Coast. Their rates, they're what I call alternative. They're kind of more alternative type lenders.
Hmm.
Their rate is around in the 9-10% range.
Okay.
They have like 1 and 2 year programs.
What
It's
about
like
points?
2 to 4 points.
Okay.
70, 75 up to 75% LTV. They'll do. Oh shoot, I'm so sorry. That's for commercial deals. That's not for residential investment properties. Sorry about
Man.
that. Ah, hey, I got carried away there. I got really excited. I'm thinking,
You
man,
know
I
what
gotta
I do?
help
I
these
have that
people. I
effect
gotta
on
help these
people.
people.
I
Yeah,
do.
no, I'm gonna go look. Hold on. Let me see what I can. Let me just pop in here. Let's see here. Okay, so residential rehab lenders. I've got three that I'm direct to. Let's see here. Take a look at lending criteria. Okay, so loan amounts from 50,000 to 2.5 million, up to 80% LTV of the as-is value or
Mm,
the purchase price, whichever is lower. Their rates are 12% or 1% paid monthly. They're charging 4 to 6 points. Collateral,
man, that's pretty
non-owner
steep.
occupied real estate only, residential or commercial. Closing 10 business days.
Okay.
Borrower, loan issued to business entity with personal guarantee. They can basically do purchase, refinance, cash out, bridge loans, and construction loans nationwide. But yeah, this is not the asset. This is not quite the asset base we're looking
No,
at either.
no.
But that is one of the lenders I do have in one of the programs, and they are strictly, or I wouldn't say strictly, but as you can, they're into the rehab.
Sure.
They'll finance rehab stuff.
Okay. Well, that sounds fair,
So
and I mean, at least we're getting a good understanding of what's out there and what's available, and obviously, people are finding a fit with some of these programs. Otherwise, these people wouldn't be in business. So
right, exactly.
we've been
Hmm.
kind of covering some of the interest rates.
Yes. Hmm.
I still think those 4 or 5% interest rates, the lower interest rates. The takeaway there is obviously those are going to be more of your scrutinized, closer to full doc type loans. That's why you get
Right.
those lower interest rates. The higher interest rates are going to be people that are getting closer to a more true hard money type loan. They're going to look at some of the information. They're going to also consider the deal, and they're going to have
Correct.
a little bit higher interest rates because technically there is a little bit higher risk, right? Because there's no full
Right.
documentation. So that's the basis there. Obviously, we do have loan for rehabbers. We've been talking about that. Um, Rehab loans, fix and flip guys, buy and hold, blanket portfolio loans. We've covered all that kind of stuff, and that's
Hmm.
that I think is an interesting thing, and more people I think are kind of getting on that bandwagon. I've met more people that are doing the whole blanket portfolio loans because I mean we know the cash flow is the future, and there's going to be more and more lending I think on portfolios. And just this week alone, through one of my lender contacts who refers me business for the insurance side, because obviously these lenders also have specific insurance requirements that need to be met, and obviously we can do
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. But one referral, they had 36 properties. That's a pretty decent portfolio. I think that's respectable. And
Right.
I've seen them into the four figures as far as how many locations one entity had, which is just amazing to me sometimes. It's
Hmm.
I could
Hmm.
only hope to get to that level. But I think you're going to see more and more of these types of lenders to where you can essentially leverage the portfolio that you start to build to start to keep and buying more and more and more, and that's when your momentum really starts to pick up.
Right.
So here it is. How do we get started? We're gonna give you Andrew's contact information. Obviously, you'll have my contact information to
Hmm.
get any more information. And what is a good email address for you, Andrew?
Okay, I believe it's on the next slide.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Yeah, there we go.
There's
Hmm.
there's Andrew's contact information. So for those of you listening to the podcast, the best email is info@amc or amcapitalsource.com. Alternative email is amcapitalsource@gmail.com. It's so funny too because we buy these domains, we go and spend the money, and there's just no beating the user-friendly ability of Gmail. So
Right.
I have Gmail. I have way too many email accounts.
Right.
Phone number is 360-727-7808, and their website, so you can find out more information, is amcapitalsource.com. And Andrew, let me help you here. You no longer we're living in a world where you no longer need a www
Yeah, I
in
understand
front of
that.
your URL.
That no, I do understand that. That is correct, and I agree with that. I just put it on there. I don't know. It's just habit,
It's a
and I
habit,
don't know.
right? It makes you
It
feel
looks,
it makes you feel
it
safe.
still looks kind of professional
It's
to
like a
me.
it's like a real
I mean,
website.
yeah, exactly, exactly. I don't know. But yeah, point taken though. I'm okay
Yes,
with it.
I'm gonna bust your butt a little bit. So, all right, guys.
Okay.
So hopefully you guys have found some value in this. You've stuck with us. I'd like to open it up for some questions. Right?
Okay.
Let's any questions, guys? I mean, I know we did a pretty good job covering everything, but even off the wall questions, go ahead and type them in or raise your hand, and I'll unmute you because those of you who know me know that I love participation, audience participation. This is your chance to get out of your comfort zone and get yourself to that next level, right? Because I mean that's where it starts, right? If you don't know how to get out of your
Right.
comfort zone, you're not going to be able to get those things that you want, because if everything was within your comfort zone, you'd already have it. So it's out there. It's beyond your comfort zone. All right. If there aren't any questions or additional questions, then we're going to go ahead and wrap it up, guys. Thanks so much for being with us this afternoon or this evening. And this has been recording, as you know. We will the video and the slides have all been recorded. This will also be converted into a podcast, and I'll connect with you, Andrew, with the information and get you access to that. It will be on our
Okay.
website at cdcria.com/podcasts, and you can see all of our different webinars and the podcasts and everything else that we do. And that way you can distribute it to whoever you want to, Andrew, with your contacts, and it's just a good way and format to capture information that you can
Sure.
repeat that way. So, all right, thanks so much for being on, Andrew, and I'm sure we'll stay in touch. I'll put you in contact with Matt Benson. And until next, well, not next week, guys, because next week is Thanksgiving. So have a
Oh yeah.
happy and blessed Thanksgiving. So there won't be a webinar next Thursday, but we'll catch you guys the first week of December.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Ivan, for having me on. It's been a pleasure and lots of fun. And for all the listeners out there, happy Thanksgiving, and I hope to hear from you sometime soon.
I'll talk to
Hopefully
you
we
real
can
soon.
make something happen. Okay. Thanks
Absolutely.
again, folks.
Thank you, Arthur, and thanks for being on. Always appreciate your input. And Andrew, Arthur says that you did a good job also.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Thanks, Arthur. Appreciate it.
All right.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
All right.
Bye.
Okay. Good night.